Guys, we are going to be setting up the Wemacro focus rail today, and yeah, so let's get started. I'm going to be setting this up for the configuration used. I believe they say it's configuration number 1, which is controlled by the PC. So I will do that. Let's go through what we have in the box. There's the AC adapter that we're going to use. We're going to use the shutter release cable and extension. Again, the shutter release needs to be specific for your camera model. And the control box, the USB cable, and then this is the stepper motor cable. So the only thing that, it's definitely not like a non-selling point for me at this point, but this cable is really short. This is the AC. As you see, I had to pull out another extension here. Other than that, everything is very straightforward and easy to put together. So let's get to it. I'm going to go by the directions. And so we will be using the top direction here. You can download this, I believe, from the Wemacro website, but we're going to be going through this configuration controlled by the PC, and then we'll go over the software once we get this all put together and I get a specimen set up. Alright, so the directions start by saying install the camera on the rail by using the supplied 1/4 20-inch screw with a quick release clamp. I've already installed that to the bottom of my bellows, so I'm going to go ahead and install this here. And we're going to lock it into place. Alright. Install the rail on a stable support. I did that first. So I have this here. I have mine set on a Z. Oh, it's tighter than I thought. Oh, it's heavier than I thought. So I have mine set on a Z plate so I can angle it at different angles. Obviously I have to adjust the tension on those because it is fairly heavy. Alright, so in order to connect this, I used the 1/4 inch hole that was on here. There is also a 3/8 inch hole, a 6.5 millimeter, and a 10 millimeter diameter holes, as well as it is on an Arca Swiss plate, which is compatible. And my battery is gonna die. I'm gonna go as far as I can. Alright, step 3, shutter release cable to the control box and then to the camera. So the extension here. Goes into the control box here. Good. And then into the camera, which my port is on the left side over here. Alright, and that goes right into your port that has, which you would use a remote or a intervalometer on. Alright, connect the shutter extension cable to the control box. That would be this guy. And again, both ends are the same. There is a little notch, you just line it up right in here. Push it on, and then screw that down. Good. And control the connect. So then back here is the other side of the control panel, or sorry, the stepper motor cable. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that in. And then again, screw this guy in. So the connections are all very secure here. It does recommend that you don't bend the cable. That's what we've done there. And then, so after that, the directions kind of, I'm not sure if there are missing pages or steps or whatever, but you're kind of on your own after that. Just in basically setting up a USB cable. So USB cable goes right in here. Like so, and then I'm also going to plug it in because it never gave you that option either. So the power goes right in here, like so. Plug this guy in. Good. And then I'm going to plug this end into the computer. Which apparently was the hardest part. I'm going to change this battery and we'll be right back. Okay. And here's a quick little glimpse at the setup. I've got two lights, my Canon M6 Mark II, and a specimen. Alright, let's jump into the software. Okay, so let's look at the software here. And this can be downloaded from Wemacro up here. You can see that. So we'll go box by box, and it's pretty simple. Excuse me. So to connect it, I do not have my rail connected at this point. If I did, I would be able to click here, and a list of my COM ports would be there. Usually COM3 is the port that is my front USB. So you would select that there, and then just click connect. Obviously it's not going to connect. So into the settings box, at the top we have load and save as. These are going to be good if you are shooting one certain type of thing. Say the same size insect or any product that you may be photographing. You can go ahead and save your settings in this panel here, so you can just load it. So those two are pretty functional. And now let's get into the settings themselves. The shutter waiting time. This is, I'm not sure what the default was. I do 3 seconds. This is the time after your rail comes to a stop, it's going to settle out, and then it'll wait 3 seconds before taking a photo. So shutters per step. This is how many times you actually want the shutters to actuate per step. I'm using a mirrorless camera. I'm not doing any exposure bracketing, so I just do 1. If you were using a camera with a mirror and you were doing it in mirror lockup mode, you could change this to 2, or you would have to change this to 2. The first one would lock the mirror. The second time, I believe it would wait whatever value you put in here. So the first time, mirror lockup. Second time would actually be your exposure. The interval of the shutters, because I'm using 1, mine is at 1. If you were using mirror lockup, you would probably want something similar to your shutter waiting time, just to minimize any vibrations that would be coming after the mirror movement. So backlash, this has to do with the internal mechanism, the thread distance, as well as the nut that the rail moves along. It came at a default of 180. The instruction manual says if you don't know your actual backlash number, to use 220. I don't know mine. I don't know how to figure that out. So I'm using 220. The modes. So you can do 2 different modes here. You can do by distance or start to end. So by distance is if you're shooting something that is, I don't know, let's say 10 millimeters, you would bring focus, sorry, you would bring the focus closest point that you want in focus on your subject. You would bring that closest to the camera, and say if it was 10 millimeters, you could set this by distance. If you click by distance, it'll give you these. So you would set your total steps and your total distance. So obviously you would want it greater than 10, just to make sure you got everything in focus. I choose to do the start to end. I like this. It works well. We'll get into how you would set that up in 1 second. But this basically, you set a start point for the rail, and then you move the camera forward and you set an end point, and then you just start it. So these two, beep when complete, does exactly that. The rail will beep. I believe it's in the other video when I was actually shooting. And then return. So return is a great feature. It's return to your starting position. So after it completes, your rail will beep, and then the carriage will be returned to that original spot of focus. Okay. Probably the two most important buttons on this window are going to be your save settings and your calibrate. All right, so save settings here is anytime you make a change in this window here, you need to hit save settings. When you do that, it sends the command to the rail. If you don't do save settings, it's not gonna update the rail, and it will not update this field over here. So calibrate, anytime you use a backward motion, either if you're moving backwards or you're stepping backwards, we'll talk about these in 1 second, you need to hit calibrate. And what this will do, the rail will move backwards and then forwards, whatever this backlash number is. And that just makes sure that it's right up against the threads and that all of your movements are going to be accurate. All right, so here, sorry, I missed a box. So back here, your step length is how many units of whatever you're using you want the rail to move each step. The other day I shot this at 75 as well as 150 microns. I was taking a picture of a small moth. It was only a couple millimeters deep. 75 gave me a great result. 150 also gave me a great result. So you really need to play with these. There are two modes, or not modes, but two speeds. There's the micrometers, which is slow, and then there are millimeters, which are fast. So I don't know, I like the micrometer because it makes me sound fancy. So let's go up to this box now, and you have your first two. You have a step backward button, which will move the rail back towards the motor end, however many units you have set here. The same with step forward. It will move it away from the motor side of the rail, again in this set number, Backwards and forwards, if you're in the micron mode, it's a very small, though if you hold the button down, it does move fairly quickly. It's not going to take you 3 days to get in focus. And same with move forward. Okay, so this is how you're going to set up to get, hopefully you've already roughly focused your specimen and you're ready on that end. So then you would come here to get a more precise focus. I don't use the step forward or back unless I'm really out of focus. So backwards and forward will bring you very slowly into frame or into focus. So once you get to where you want to be, you're going to go ahead and, where are we at? We're at start to end. So, excuse me. When you finally are in focus here, you have the closest point of your subject closest to the camera, you're going to hit as start. Okay, when you do that, this button will change to as end. You are going to use your forward only. If you do the backwards, it's going to mess things up. So only go forward. You're going to hold that button down, and then your rail is going to move forward. And when you get that last part of your subject that you want in focus, you're going to go ahead and hit as end. You're going to hit there. Your rail is going to now automatically return to home. And then you must hit calibrate. So you're going to hit calibrate, and that is going to cause that reverse and forward motion to happen. It's going to set you right at your starting point. And then, so when you do it this way, it'll automatically find the total distance. So this field will populate your total steps. It'll tell you how many, depending on how many steps you chose, and the total distance. It'll tell you how many steps, and it will also tell you how many seconds, or I think it's only in seconds. This will update, and then it will count down for you. So, and then when you're ready to go, you simply hit run, and it works amazingly well. I've been really happy with it. One thing just to conclude here. So when you're setting up your focusing here, if you have the option in your camera to, I can't remember what it's called, but you can set on your LCD, you can actually see where is in focus. Mine is like a yellow little specular that kind of dances across the surface, almost like marching ants. That's super helpful when you're setting up the camera. All right, so let's go back. I'm not sure where I'm going to put this into the main video, but we should be concluding with some photos of the moth that I took, as well as the rest of the setup video. All right, great. Thanks. So these are the settings that I ended up using. I chose 150 microns as my step length. It gave me 4.05 millimeters of total travel, 27 steps. So I got 27 photos, and then it will count down telling you how many seconds are left. Okay, and we have one more shot here of the unit actually working. So you can see, waits the 3 seconds in between and then goes ahead and takes that second picture. So this photo here is just one of the frames. I just wanted to let you know what they look like and how shallow the depth of field is. I'm using on this a reverse 50 millimeter and larger lens on a set of bellows. I think I have about 100 millimeters of extension there. And here we have just the last couple of shots. I'll zoom in here and show you the time remaining. And once it finishes, it'll take the last picture, and then it returns to home. All right, so at the end of this, I will put up a finished photo of the 27 photos, I believe it was, stacked in Zarine Stacker, and then finished in Lightroom and Photoshop. As always, please like and subscribe. All right, until next time, guys. Bye.